Thank you for joining Handle Your Business with Bobby Dino. I am honored to have the man here, Zuby himself. Zuby, how are you, man?
I'm good, Bobby. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, thanks, man. I'm really impressed by what you've accomplished this past year. You just got back from the United States. You went on this tour, essentially. I mean, how was that, man? How are you dealing with that?
It was an amazing trip, dude. Got to visit a whole bunch of cities that I'd never been to before. I went to, I think, 11 cities in total. So starting out in
Oh, wow.
California and then going to Texas. Then where was I? Georgia, Atlanta. Then I went to Tennessee, then to DC, then to New York, and within those states, hit a few different cities in some of them.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it was an amazing trip. Had a huge amount of incredible opportunities, going on some of the biggest podcasts and shows in the
Man,
world, meeting a ton of really inspirational people, meeting a bunch of my fans and supporters in different cities, having all kinds of having all kinds of awesome opportunities. I got invited to the Pentagon. I got invited to visit the White House twice. So it's all was pretty nuts, man. I mean, in 9 weeks, the amount that I was able to do and accomplish was pretty phenomenal. And I
that's
really,
that's crazy. Like from an American's perspective,
yeah.
okay? Because like the average American it's not just like, hey, you've got an invitation to the Pentagon and to the White House twice. Like that's just something that just doesn't happen to anyone. So like
Yeah.
hearing you say this, it's just like it's very impressive and incredible, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, I didn't begin 2019 thinking I was going to accomplish a fraction of the stuff I did. So the year's not over yet. I've still got a few more
Right.
things to do, but it's been a phenomenal year just in terms of building my audience and really growing and honing my message, getting a lot of new people listening to my music and my podcast and following me on different social networks. I mean, I've gained almost 200,000 followers across the board on the different
Jesus.
channels just this year, which is incredible. I've never had that kind of growth before. You know, it took me a decade to get a fraction of that, and then I've sort of managed to 10x it in the past year, if not more. And it was really
Yeah.
tricky. I mean, in all these different places, being in all these cities I've never been to before, and actually having quite a lot of situations where, people recognize me on the street or came up to me or shouted at me out of a car window, just kind of saying, like, yo, Zuby, what's up, man? Like, I saw you on Rogan, or I saw you on Shapiro, or we saw you on Fox News, or whatever the thing is. So that was just amazing. It just made it more real how many more people I am having an impact and a positive influence on.
That's awesome, man. And before we get too deep into this, if the for the 1% population that doesn't know who you are, who is Zuby?
So I am an independent rapper based in the UK. I was born in England. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. My family background is originally from Nigeria. I'm also the host of my podcast, Real Talk with Zuby. I'm also the author of the fitness book, Strong Advice, which I wrote and released a couple of months ago. And yeah, I define myself as a primarily a musician, but also a creative entrepreneur. So I'm known for a bunch of different things now. It all started out with just the music, but in the past 365 days or so, I've become known for a whole bunch of other things outside of my music. So yeah, I'm in a weird, interesting space, but it's all good.
No, that's cool. And one of the things that you've become known for, if not the thing that kicked this all off, was there was a video of you that went viral,
Mm,
right? The video where you were identifying as a female and breaking the female world weightlifting record, right? And I'm not and don't be a bigot. I remember that was said that it's like don't
yep.
be a bigot. No,
Yep.
but when you made that, I mean, obviously you knew you were going to get some laughs or whatever, but do you ever just think back on that and you're just like, man, like that, like it's just because with you talking about your growth, you spent 10 years getting to a certain place, right? And then you just did this one thing that just like, does that still kind of trip you out? Uh-oh, did we lose internet? That was
Oh, hey.
weird. What
Yeah.
was that on my side or I must have hit
Uh, I
it,
think so.
it looked like it disconnected. Okay, I'll have Tiger edit that real quick and
No
we just
problems.
wasted about 47 seconds of time.
Yeah, it's okay, bro.
Apologies. No, okay, so Tiger, I'll look it up and figure it out. Okay, so I had just asked what when you think on that, right? Where does your mind go when you think about, geez, I spent so long here. I made some vid off the cuff that I wasn't even sure would do anything, because I'm sure it was, man.
Yeah.
And then boom, right? You're on Joe Rogan, you're meeting all these people. I mean, what goes through your mind when you think about that?
Man, it's funny, I mean, it's a metaphor for a whole bunch of things. So I think one thing that's interesting to note with it is, of course, I was lifting a very heavy amount of weight in that video that 99.9% of people cannot lift. And the reason I was able to lift that is due to over a decade of weight training.
Mhm.
So I think it's quite a good analogy for my career and how certain aspects of success can happen in reality. So it may look like, okay, that was just a random 9-second thing that anybody could have done and just happened to be a kind of lucky strike, which is true to one degree.
Mhm.
However, I all of the work that it took to make that spark even happen and to make it even possible, there's a lot more. There was a much bigger process and hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours, spent in the gym, training, putting in
Sure.
the effort for that to even happen. And then once it happened, like, people go viral all the time, but
Mhm.
most people don't go viral and then end up doing everything I have done since that video, right? Most people, it goes viral,
Sure.
floats around for a couple of days, and it disappears. Most people go viral and, maybe they'll gain 300 new followers because
Right.
there's not much interesting going on besides that one viral clip. In my case, because I have a lot of other stuff going on, from my music to my podcast to my general commentary and beliefs and attitudes and stuff that draws people towards me, what happened was a lot of people discovered me because of that video, but then thousands of those people stayed because there was a lot more than just that tip of the iceberg. And if you've
Right.
seen, I mean, I've gone viral many, many times
Right.
since that video. That wasn't like a lucky shot. I have
Right.
a viral tweet pretty much every week, if not every day. I'll have at
Right.
least one thing that goes semi-viral. And again, I mean, even if you're talking Twitter, I mean, I've been on Twitter since 2009.
Yeah.
So I know how to use that platform. I know how to use social media. I know what my message is. I know how to reach people and all that stuff. So I was able to use that moment to really capitalize on it, right? And use that to,
Right.
most people can't just have a viral tweet and end up on Joe Rogan, right? He and other people obviously saw that there was more to Zuby than just this tweet. Same with yourself. I think all these opportunities, if that was the only thing I had going for me, I don't think people would really be that interested in talking to me. So it's been pretty wild that of all the things I do and have done, that was the thing that brought all the attention. But
Mhm.
God works in mysterious ways. You can
Right.
never predict what people are going to respond to and to what degree they're going to respond to it. You can't engineer everything. You can try to go viral as much as you want, but there's not necessarily like a set way or defined formula or anything like that. But I was able to capture something and create a video and word things in a specific way where it just hit a bunch of veins and really resonated with people, and they chose to share that around the world. So I'm very grateful for that moment. It was pretty, it still is kind of weird, but when it was going super nuts, like that was very, very trippy, because at the time I posted that, I mean, I had 19,000 followers when I posted that video, and I've now got over 160,000,
Yeah.
just talking Twitter. So that is, what's that? An
Crazy.
8 times increase.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's bizarre, but here we are. And now I'm just thinking ahead. I'm not looking to the past. I'm thinking ahead of, okay, I've got this many more people following me and liking me and paying attention to what I'm doing now. how can I best serve these people, and how can I best reach my goals? And what's the next thing that I need to do, or what are the next things that I need to do?
That's awesome, man. And this show, Handle Your Business, it's a motto of mine. Handle your business. Take care of what you got to do.
Mm,
The reason why I do this show is so that I can bring these people who have come up, these people who have had their own trials and adversities, who are now doing successful, or who have done well, and it's to expose, if you will, their mindset and what they do to handle their business. And
mm,
with you, and for the people that are watching, please pay attention, because what I just saw right now was Zuby said, I'd taken all these years to build my craft, build my skill. I kept working. I didn't get up or give up. And when that opportunity happened, I struck on it and capitalized on it and wrote it.
mm-hmm,
Okay. You handled your business, and that's like a big thing, is when opportunity presents itself, you don't know when an opportunity like that may present itself again. And for the people that uh, we see it on Twitter too, like somebody will get a viral tweet, and then underneath they'll be like, hey, yeah, and follow me on Instagram.
mm-hmm.
And like that's like
Yeah.
the capitalization of it, man.
Yep.
But you took it like to where it needed to go. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's, for those that are watching, that's what you have to do. It's not half-assed. This guy's been all in from the gate, and
Mm,
and he's handled this business when the time happened. So why? Because we know that you're a musician. You
yep.
I've heard your stuff. Um, Besides that, though, you're also a person that has gotten into the collective argument, so to speak. You're someone that's not afraid to voice your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You see stuff that's wacky, you call people on it, or I mean, hey, you call it like you see it.
Mm.
Why have you taken beyond being a musician? Why is it important for you to go down that road?
That's a good question, man, because it's not something I initially set out to do. And for the first, excuse me, for the first 10 years or so of my music career, I explicitly didn't put out any sort of strong social or cultural commentary, or certainly anything political, just because I didn't want it to distract away from my music. But anyone who knows me privately, and any friends, family, I've always been having these conversations with people. And there was a point in 2018, basically, where I just started feeling like, yeah, I started sensing it around sort of 2015, 2016. But in 2018, it really hit me that certain things were just going too far in certain directions. And I was seeing a lot of ideas being promoted and pushed and voiced, which I strongly disagreed with and didn't think were correct or right or ethical or moral, etc. And so I figured, well, if not me, then who? Right? A lot of people I know who follow me, like I get so many DMs and emails just saying like, thank you for being reasonable. Thank you for being sane. Right. And that's weird. 10 years ago, I don't think very much stuff that I say or I put out there would be deemed controversial or weird or um, edgy or, whatever, or brave. Right. Always get
Right.
people calling me brave. And I'm like, no, man, like the world, not even the world, the modern Western world is just going a little bit wacky in certain ways, right? And people are getting possessed by some weird beliefs and ideas and pushing certain stuff out there, which I don't agree with, and which I don't think the majority of people necessarily agree with. But due to a whole bunch of different factors, there are a lot of people who are not willing to voice that same concern. And I initially was one of those people, but not for very long. So I started sort of dipping my toe into socio-political and cultural commentary in 2018, specifically on Twitter. On my other channels, right, I use Twitter quite differently to how I use the other ones.
Sure.
So I started just dipping my toe in it a little bit more, and people were responding to it in a positive way, and people were liking it. And I had a couple tweets go viral in 2018, not to the extent of my deadlift one, but I had a couple
Hmm.
tweets which, gained me a few additional thousand followers. And I realized I was tapping into a certain vein here. And I was like, okay, well, these are just the thoughts in my head anyway. This is just the stuff I think about. Why don't I
Right.
just put it out there? And that's still what I do. If I have a thought or a question or something in my mind or something that I think is intriguing or provocative or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, I'll just put this out there. Some people will agree, some people will disagree, some people will argue. I like to discuss, I like to debate. Um, so I just started just becoming, just being more open with who I actually am. That's
Right.
really all I've done. All right. It's not like I haven't changed or my views haven't drastically shifted in any way. It's just like I'm just peeling back another layer and just giving people a little bit more of Zuby and what's going on in my brain. And a lot of people seem to, a lot of people like and resonate with that and appreciate it. So that's something I've started doing a lot more of. And so I want to start bringing that into my music more, actually. Next year, I'm certainly going to put out some new songs. And now that I see how people respond to sort of that aspect and that edge of Zuby, I want to kind of put that into my lyrics and into my songs a little bit more. So that's something that people can expect in the future.
I think that would go over well.
Mm.
So much of what you hear, I listen to hip hop almost exclusively nowadays. I play guitar and I was in rock bands when I was younger, but I don't feel that. I feel that hip hop is what's on the cutting edge nowadays. I feel
Mm.
like rock's kind of played, and I'm really excited about what comes out of different areas with that. I feel that so much of the lyricism and different aspects of the music may be focused on stuff that's really not important, to say the least, to
Hmm.
where I think that coming from an angle like that would definitely be something that's welcome in the community. Um, what do people, because a lot of people have come to know you, obviously, right? You've got all these new followers. You've probably, I know you've done, Rogan and all these other ones, but on top of Rogan, you've probably done a million more different podcasts or
Hmm.
YouTube channels like mine, right? People are getting to really know you, okay? But what is it that people don't know about you?
Wow. Um, well, certainly what my haters and my detractors don't know about me is that I'm a very kind, polite, and reasonable person, right? I think you get
Hmm.
people who see one piece of content that you've put out there and they build up this whole caricature of you in their brain. They ascribe bad motives to things you're doing and things you're saying. And they just kind of very rapidly decide that they hate you or they dislike you or you're this or you're that. And that's really not the case. I mean, 99.9% of people who have met me or meet me in real life, I generally get on with, right? Someone would have to be a real a-hole for me not to be able to get on with them. I can get on with pretty much anybody because turns out in real life, people have normal conversations and don't just run around screaming their opinions for reactions like people do on Twitter.
Right.
Admittedly, everyone does that, right? That's the platform. It's like a big empty room and you just go in there
Hmm.
and you just shout whatever you want to shout and other people
Yeah.
just shout back at you, right? But
Right.
real world doesn't work like that. So I'd say for the people who, maybe have seen a couple of my tweets or, kind of seen one quote with no context or whatever, that would be the first thing that I think they'd be yeah, I don't know, maybe pleasantly surprised by. Oh, he's actually a nice guy. He's not so you know. So that'd be the one. But I think, in terms of my fans and my supporters and my audience, I think people already know that. I think that's why I can go to different cities in the US or in the UK and I can organize meetups with people and everyone gets on and it's a good time and everyone's happy and nothing's like that. So
Yeah.
I think people already know that. In terms of another thing people don't know about me. I mean, there's like random stuff in my life
Yeah.
for sure.
Spit them. Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
we have time.
I don't think most people know that I used to be a vegetarian
Oh
for
wow.
7
Okay.
years, from the ages of 7 to 14. I was a very strict vegetarian. No meat, no
By
fish.
choice, or was it like you was put on you by your parents, or
No, totally by
what was
choice.
it?
I was the only
Oh
vegetarian
wow.
in my family. Yeah. Um, when I was 7 years old, I went to my grandma's house, and they had some animals in the back, and yeah, I saw the slaughtering process.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and this is when I was 7 years old, and
Hmm.
yeah, I saw a chicken get beheaded, and saw that whole
Yeah.
process. And I was literally just like, I just told my parents that night, I was like, I don't want to eat meat anymore. I don't want. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I became a vegetarian immediately, and I did not have any meat whatsoever for the next 7 years of my life. So I don't think most people know that about me. So there's an interesting story.
There you go. Wow, man, I feel like I got a scoop. Well, I mean, there's y- things react with us different way, or little stuff. Now that could be kind of traumatizing for a kid seeing an animal killed,
Hmm.
especially the small thing. But there's all these type of little factors that play into our life, that could make these big deals. I mean, you saw one thing, and you went with it for 7 years,
Hmm.
and it's not just that. It can be anything, and it's could be good things or bad things. You just don't know. Um, but with the amount of success that you've had, with the amount of success that you're continuing to have, because I know you've got momentum. I know you're not stopping anytime soon, right?
Mm.
If if you could conceptualize it, what do you feel would be the driving factor behind your success, or factors?
Perseverance, persistence, um, knowing who I am and being very honest and authentic to a T,
Mm,
being principled, not being very willing to compromise on stuff that are my core values or my core ethics, even if it means
mm,
taking the longer, harder road and dealing with more slings and arrows and criticism. Something I've always
mm.
done throughout my music career. There's a lot of stuff I could have done which would have been expedient maybe in the short term, but in the long term probably would have, bitten me in the butt. Um, so those are certainly some of them. And then I think also being professional, being polite, treating people decently, being kind to everybody I meet, kind of more basic stuff like that. I mean, it goes a long way. Talking to strangers, being willing to just be, being extroverted. Like I've spoken to over 500,000 people, man.
Yeah,
Like in person, right?
yeah,
Like I've met people don't know this. Like how many, like I mean, I've sold over 25,000 albums in the UK, in the streets of the UK,
oh wow,
and
good for
the amount
you,
of
man.
thank you, bro. I mean, I don't go
Yeah,
out and hustle my CDs now like I used to, but the amount of people, I mean, people ask me, oh, how do you deal with all this stuff on Twitter? I'm like, man, I've already dealt with it all in real life. You know, like this is light work. This is nothing.
yeah.
So yeah, just all of that. I mean, it's just developed me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally over the last 15 years. My whole journey has just chiseled me into a very strong person and someone who
And I
really,
could
yeah,
no, I was going to say I can attest to. Okay, you and I was on your podcast. I still remember 007. I was double oh
yep,
007 on your
007.
podcast, right? And I remember upon meeting briefly before we started that, I was going, gosh, this guy's really well spoken. He's really nice. He's got great manners. Then a little, God, what was it? A couple months ago now, when you were in San Francisco,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we met up over there. I was finally, we were able to meet in person.
yeah.
Same thing. It's like I'm not only watching or checking out our interaction, I'm watching how you're interacting with other people, and the way you're conversing and what you're talking about. I'm going, God, this is a really well mannered, intelligent gentleman right here.
Thank you.
And well, you're welcome. But the point is, and you just bring it up, and for you out there once again who are watching, manners go a long way. There's a misconception that if you want to be thought of as like a tough guy, or like an alpha, or like a whatever you want to call yourself that makes you think you're number one, that
Hmm.
you have to be a jerk, or you have to be an asshole. And
Yeah,
in reality, nobody wants to work with people like that.
no,
Nobody
not at
wants
all.
to hang out with people like that. And and Zuby's absolutely right. the manners, even basic stuff, please and thank you, being willing to talk to strangers or people you haven't met, holding doors,
Yep.
simple stuff, right? I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I feel has really just gone by the wayside as far as this generation versus when I was growing up. Is there's a
Mhm.
lot less manners in today's society.
Hey, man. Well, my family's Nigerian, so don't forget that.
Yeah,
I live in the Western world, but like I'm still
well,
we're still African.
well, right, right. That's true. So, so, so I know that you've been doing these podcasts. I don't want to keep you on too long. Um, but before we sign off, is there anything that, let's say, you've heard about Zuby that's incorrect, or something that may be coming up? Anything that you want to clear up right now, to where you're just like, hey, this is what it is.
There's a lot of stuff that I've heard about me that's incorrect. I see it every day, but I can't address it all, and I don't worry about it at all. If someone wants to have a terrible opinion of me that's not true, then that's on them. I'm not going to let it bother me. But in terms of things that are coming up, I mean, like I said, I've got my own podcast, which is out now. Drops new episodes every week. Done over 60 episodes now. That's a Real
Oh,
Talk with
wow.
Zuby. You can check that out here on YouTube. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can subscribe to that. I do recommend it. Um, I've got my book out now, Strong Advice, Zuby's Guide to Fitness for Everybody. The ebook is available right now on teamzuby.com. I've got the physical book coming in December that can be pre-ordered right now. Also from my website, there's a link on zubymusic.com if you want a physical copy. And the audiobook is coming as well. And then, of course, I've got my music available on all platforms. And then next year, I'm still plotting it out for next year. I'm certainly going to be coming back to the States.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm putting it's going to take a little bit of time to put my plans together. But yeah, I think I'm going to be spending a lot more time in the States in the future if I can get certain things lined up. So we will see.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I actually have a funny story about the Real Talk with Zuby. So
Okay.
when I did my first episode I did it with Tristan. We were in Laurel Canyon. We were at this nice place, had a pool next to us. I said, let's shoot this interview real quick, right? I didn't have a name, so the guy that does my editing and my video stuff, Tiger, he said, hey, how about Real Talk? That's a good one. And I go, yeah, I go, that'll work. And he goes, here, I'll look it up real quick. And he looked it up and he goes, okay, it doesn't look like anybody has that thing, so, or has that title, so go ahead and use it. So the opening line of the I'm like, hey, this is Real Talk with Bobby Dino, right? Man, we shoot that interview probably about 10 or 15 minutes later. I was like, oh my God. My buddy's going, what? And I go, I was on Zuby's Real Talk with Zuby, man. So that's what we changed it, that day to handle your business. But it was
That's
funny
so
because I
funny.
say it if you watch Tristan's video, it's in there. I said it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a pleasure being on your show, man. And I'm really happy that you came on mine. I feel like you are somebody worth talking to, not only because of just who you are and the man that I've met personally, but the message that you're bringing to others. So thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
It's an absolute honor, bro. Likewise.
Cool. And for everyone that is wondering about his stuff, I'll make sure to have Zuby's links included in the bio so you can get his stuff. And once again, this has been Handle Your Business with Bobby Zeno, and today we had Zuby. Thank you, Zuby.
You're welcome.